He's a bit of a spell word as a character, old Mr. Jung. So I'm wondering if maybe you could share some of the Jungian perspective on aliens and the UFO phenomena, and
Yeah.
then perhaps how you've come to relate to those, and then we can begin by working in a bit more.
Jung has sort of a single essay on the UFO phenomenon, and it's relatively late in his career, right? The concept of the UFO doesn't reach a lot of cultural currency until really the 50s, late 40s, into the 50s, where you start to get a lot of interest. But anyway, Jung's perspective is it's half profound and half a little facile. It leaves you hungry, I find. His basic perspective is just that when people are having these experiences of specifically sort of aerial phenomena, he points a link to sort of things like biblical, appearances of wheels of fire in Ezekiel, I think. So sort of these like appearances in prophecy or in visionary experience where people have had these wheels of fire in the sky. And he specifically sort of points to the UFO as a psychoid manifestation. The psychoid is one of these concepts in Jung that's frankly tricky to wrap your head around, right? It's this intruding superstructure from the unus mundus that manifests itself simultaneously in the subjective and objective worlds, right? Matter and psyche, and is clearly sort of symbolically tied together, but in a way that doesn't admit for easy causality or explanation, right? So synchronicity is for him a psychoid manifestation. Archetypes, as he perceives them certainly later in his career, are psychoid in this sense. So he sees them as being, in some sense, like a core structure of the metaphysics of reality, right? And so he discusses the UFO as this sort of psychoid content, right? That something that's psychologically charged in this way can manifest itself in the world. And by drawing his link to religious and visionary experiences, he's, attempting to show a sort of pedigree, obviously, of these kinds of experiences that you see in various forms of sort of documents of revelation, including I add revelations, but also, all sorts of Gnostic texts and alchemical texts and so on. So he outlines this and makes some interesting links to sort of the disc-like form or the wheel of fire. His take on it is interesting and in some ways quite radical, because the notion of the psychoid is radical and because he's proposing a potential metaphysics that's quite radical. But exploring the kind of implications of that falls a little short, in my opinion.